Hi everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, part of Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections, and welcome to the 2024 Year Ahead reading. Each year since 2022, I have been doing this Year Ahead reading. It is meant to serve as guidance for your year ahead, and I'm going to have timestamps this year in the description box, and we'll revisit this throughout the year just to see how things are progressing and how the timelines are shifting, and to bring you more guidance for your collective year ahead. So we're going to put this into two parts. We're going to do some channeling in the beginning here, and then we're going to get into an actual spread, into an actual reading. And I did have a 2024 year ahead reading as a personal reading. And thank you to everyone who booked with me. And thank you for all of the feedback already that is coming through for those 2024 year ahead readings, the personal readings. I very much appreciate it. It is my honor to always read for you. And I wish all of you a wonderful and happy and prosperous 2024 year ahead. And it seems like prosperity is going to be the name of the game for 2024, but not without its challenges. And it depends on where we are in the journey that is going to help us move through those challenges. And this 2024 collective year ahead reading is meant to help you navigate those challenges and obstacles, especially when it comes to the collective energy. So we're going to begin with a channeling that I had done over on Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections, my main channel. I really encourage you guys to subscribe to both channels so that you don't miss anything. If you want to dive deeper into ascension, if you want to dive deeper into sacred channelings, into your spiritual awakening and ascension journey, and even if you want to dive deeper into the sacred union path of ascension, here's a place to do it. And if you want daily updates and readings and weekly readings, make sure that you're subscribing over on Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. So we did a soul path reading, and it was a little bit surprising what came through, because what was coming through in December was this 2024 year ahead energy. And I wasn't prepared at the time to do the collective reading, but it was almost like we got a sneak peek. It was like a precursor to this bigger reading that we're doing. I called that reading Embracing the Feminine, and that's really what this energy feels like. It feels like 2024 is this feminine energy. And if we look at the numerology that really supports this, and I'm just going to read what I had written in the description box because it's just easier for me to read it. So, the energetic frequency of the numbers reflected in the years 2023 and 2024 was what we were talking about and what we were channeling. They brought to me the numbers 23 and 24 versus 2023 and 2024. And that changes things. That changes the numerology a little bit, but it's still the same energy. So 23 is a 5 number. 2 plus 3 equals that 5 number. And that brought about a very masculine energy. Then after the reading, after the channeling, they brought to me, oh, it's actually 2023 and 2024, which is another layer, adds another layer to that channeling and to what we were bringing forth. So then if you add up 2 plus 2 plus 3 for 2023, it was a 7 number, which also has a very masculine energy about it, very masculine frequency. And what they shared was, we can go one layer deeper with that channeling. The masculine energy of change with the number 5 can also be seen with the life path energy of the number 7. So it's double layered, which was really interesting to me. This included a growing sense of self-awareness, deepening spiritual understanding, and internal growth. In essence, 2023 was the masculine's ascension. It was a huge awakening for the collective ascension for the masculine energy on the planet. Similarly, the feminine energy of the number 6, which was 2 plus 4, the 24 at the end of this year, or 2 plus 2 plus 4, which comes to 8, both holding a feminine frequency. This is also seen in the abundance energy of 8, which is what we're channeling for in this next year, including anchoring into more confidence, personal empowerment, and connection to the infinite. I said, please remember that this reading is for the union of the two within the self. So please consider your inner masculine and your inner feminine or that of the greater collective ascension energies when listening. So we are not, and remember that whenever we do any reading, talking about masculine and feminine energy, it's about coming into that oneness. It's about coming into that wholeness. And that really is what 2024 is going to be all about. Recognizing oneness, recognizing community. And again, it depends on where you are on your journey and that level of awareness that you might have. But it's about coming into the wholeness, coming into that oneness where one is not separate from the other. For too long on this planet, the collective energies have been split, have been separate. And that's part of the separation that we feel within ourselves. That's part of the disconnect that we feel from each other, is because it's one has been pitted against each other. And that's the way that society has operated. Sadly so, disappointingly so, even frustratingly so. The energies have been pitted against each other. And you can see this in the physical world where it's men against women or male against female. But it's supposed to operate in oneness. You can't have one without the other. And in nature, you actually see the harmonization of those energies. We live in a very dualistic world, but what our ascension teaches us is that middle path. It's not so black and white, it's not so hot and cold. It is varying degrees in support of each other. And it's working in harmony, it's working in that oneness together. Both have something to bring to the table, both have something to offer to the world. And again, we're not talking about physical presence, we're talking about the energies, and you have both masculine and feminine energies within you. And so, in that harmonization of those energies, in the harmonization, you have that oneness. You have the peace, you have the balance. You are transcending that duality or dualistic perspective. And so a long time ago, they brought me the analogy of the waterfall. And the waterfall is a perfect embodiment in nature, in our physical world, of the balance of the masculine and the feminine energies. The feminine energy is the flow, is the water. The masculine energy is the banks of that waterfall. It's the grounding, it's the ground itself. Without that masculine presence, without that stability, without that authority, that integrity, that container, that structure, that discipline, the feminine energy just overflows, right? It just floods and it creates disasters and it creates catastrophes and it upends everything. The masculine container is not about control and it's not about power. That is the corrupt and distorted masculine energy. Just like the overflow of emotions and the overflow of energy with the water, the flood of energy is a distorted feminine energy, is a wounded feminine energy. Coming into balance within both, and that's what we do on this ascension journey, is we are healing the masculine and the feminine energy. We are redefining, is the word that they're bringing me, the distortions of those energies, or how it's been distorted through centuries, through society, through programming, through conditioning, and bringing it into balance so that it creates this beautiful, natural, abundant flow of energy, this waterfall. And waterfalls being majestic, being magical, being powerful forces of nature in and of themselves, right? Natural forces of nature in and of themselves. That is the union of the two, the harmonization of the masculine and the feminine energy. Put into very basic terms here, so let's put this into context. Put into very basic terms, but if you want to go deeper into these teachings, you can check out any of the sacred channelings here on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, or we go deeper into this with regards to the sacred union path of ascension over on Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. So it's all about the balance of the two, and we were having a major masculine awakening. You might have been working on your inner masculine, safety, security, presence, authority, personal authority, releasing energies of control, releasing energies of corruption, releasing energies of that resistant, like that this kind of paradigm where you're clenching your fists and you're holding on, where you're holding on to a false sense of power, a false sense of control. And you can, look at the world at large and see where that paradigm has existed, where that energy has ceased to flow. And as the masculine energy comes into harmony with the feminine, there is more peace, there is more flow, there is more balance, there is more abundance. The feminine too has been, going through their own ascension, their own rising, trusting in themselves, learning how to tune into themselves, learning how to follow their intuition, learning how to open their heart and keep that open heart, keep that unguarded heart, learning how to balance those emotions. So remember, we're putting it into the context of energy. We're not pitting one against each other. That's where the division was created. That's where the separation was created. That's where we have distorted our reality, distorted our perception as a society. And you can especially see that in how that plays out in dynamics between men and women, or between males and females, or between you can see that in the workplace, you can see that in the home, you can see that in everyday societal structures, right? And that is what is being freed up. So where the pendulum, if we were looking at it as a pendulum, where the pendulum had been fixed with regards to patriarchy, now that pendulum has been released over the past several years, so that now it might feel like it's rocking the boat a little bit. And that's okay, because it has to. There has to be a shift, there has to be a change. And what happens is it's not swinging to the other side of matriarchy. It might feel like that sometimes, but it's coming to, when you let go of a pendulum, it like goes like this, rocks a little bit, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. You can see this in our society with, women's right to vote. You can see that in women's right as a whole. You can see that especially in the 19th or the 20th century, the 1900s, the women's suffrage movements, for example. You can really look back through history and see where there was this rising desire for recognition of the feminine energy, where that feminine energy had been suppressed, where that feminine energy had been repressed, where that feminine energy had been submerged. But again, please put this into context of energy. We see this play out in our collective reality, in our physical reality, especially when it comes to men and women, because that's how usually this energy plays out. But remember that you have the masculine and the feminine energy within you. So as that energy is released, as that foothold, that power, that corrupt control is released, the pendulum rocks back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and we're getting to that 0 point. We're getting to that place of balance where both exist in harmony. And that's where the honoring of each other comes into being. And that's why conscious relationships and the sacred union path of ascension, for those who relate to that, is so important, because it's helping you to understand what a conscious relationship is in the honoring of the energies of each other. Now, I want to bring this back for a minute, because they're calling me to, about how the feminine and masculine energy exists within you. And so you might be on a path of ascension with another person where they are that mirror for you. They're reflecting to you your shadow side. They're reflecting to you your light. Both, because you can't have the shadow without the light. You can't have the light without the shadow. One shows you the other. And so it's showing you where the healing has to happen. It shows you where what I like to call the remembrance has to happen, because that's ultimately what you're doing on this ascension journey, is you're remembering your sacredness. You're remembering your divinity, where other people and society might have crowded your energy and crowded your mind and made you believe whatever it is that you believe, or your experiences had you believe, or you had certain mindsets based on your upbringing. This is where you are coming into your personal sovereignty. This is where you're coming into your personal authority. And so, with the masculine and the feminine energy within you, that has a ripple effect in your relationships, that has a ripple effect in the greater collective as a whole, the global collective as a whole. So, the feminine and masculine energy within you, as you heal both within you, if you are a female, for example, that has embodied or embodies that core feminine frequency, then you might be working on healing the masculine within you, feeling more safe and secure to express that feminine nature, the softness, the gentleness, but also the expression, the fierceness. Kalima is coming through to just remind me that that is feminine energy as well. The fierceness, the warrior energy, as well, allowing yourself to stand up, allowing yourself to speak your truth, and not suppressing that, not subverting that. Being true to your heart, being true to who you are, even against opposition. Making sure that you are in touch and at one with yourself, trusting your intuition, following your truth, following your path, following your heart. That is all feminine energy, bringing that energy down into the heart space and embodying that. For so long, a lot of females and a lot of feminine energies had suppressed that because it was an over masculinated world, that corrupt, distorted, masculinated world. And so, what has happened is the feminine has gone perhaps too hyper independent, into the other extreme, too masculine, trying to control, trying to force, not out of ill intention, but that's how he or she has learned to live in this world, to survive in this world. And so, what happens through this ascension journey, through your healing, is you begin to really feel more secure and safe within yourself. And I'm pointing to my lower three chakras because that's where the masculine energy is. The masculine energy really resides within the lower three chakras, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. That's that point of power, the empowerment, your personal identity. That's the root, which is the groundedness to the earth, to the physical plane. And that's even the sacral, which is that those emotions, that feeling safe and feeling secure to express yourself. Feminine energy is really residing in the higher three chakras, the crown chakra, the brow chakra, and the throat chakra. The crown is that connection to the universe, to God's source. The third eye is that connection to your intuition and knowing things or seeing things or feeling things intuitively. The throat chakra is being able to express yourself, to communicate in healthy ways. And what happens is, as you're healing this, well, I'll get to that in a second. So, what happens is the feminine is healing the masculine energy, feeling safe and secure within herself, where she might have hid herself away or suppressed all of her energies. So, that's coming into balance for the feminine. On the masculine side, if this is a male, for example, or a masculine dominant energy, the masculine might have suppressed their own inner feminine and become overly masculinated, become aggressive, not able to express their anger in healthy ways, not able to express their emotions in healthy ways, anger being one of those emotions. So the overly masculinated energy, not in balance with their feminine, might be more aggressive, more assertive, but not in healthy ways assertive. Assertiveness is good. That's you standing up for yourself, but this is like in a distorted way that we're talking about here. They might have been controlling. They might have had power issues, a lot of ego coming to the forefront, not standing in their dignity, not standing in their integrity, putting an emphasis and priority on material things, finances, money, material objects, rather than, things that feel good to them. They might have been in a place where they were adhering to expectation and duty versus trusting their own intuition versus getting in touch with their own emotions. At the same time, suppressing their emotions, not allowing themselves to feel. I'm hearing the phrase going cold. So, a lot of stoicism, not able to communicate in healthy ways. And a lot of this, too, comes from upbringing, not being nurtured, not allowing the expression of self, the true expression of self. And again, this is from societal programming. And you can look at society as a whole and how this has played out. And I'm also getting that you can actually look at different countries and how this plays out, because there are different countries and culture that plays a huge part in your upbringing, plays a huge part in the experience here. They're actually bringing me to some Scandinavian countries and how there's a real nurturance of the masculine, and that nurturance of the masculine brings about healthy masculine energy. So, society and culture has played a huge part in this distortion of energies, the imbalance of energies between the masculine and the feminine. And so, for the masculine, what happens is, as they get in touch with their feminine energy, to honor the feminine energy, to not try to dismiss it or avoid it or push it away, or to look at it as weaker than, which society has historically done. um, Honoring the feminine means honoring the feminine within themselves. So, what happens as they honor the feminine within themselves, they're actually able to get more in tune with the masculine energy within them, the healthy masculine energy within them. Presence, consistency, integrity, dignity, having a strong moral compass. And the strength is the epitome of the masculine. That presence, that strength, that providership is what the feminine energy needs to feel safe, to express his or herself. So, working in tandem, what happens is as the feminine brings that energy down into her heart and embodies that within the higher heart space, the masculine energy rises into the heart space, and that's where your union is. Your union is on the bridge of the heart. So, it's a really beautiful energy of balance and harmony between the masculine and the feminine. And from that bridge of the heart space, that is where you create, that's where we birth a new world. We've been getting a lot of new earth energy lately. We've been channeling that for many, many years. But that new earth energy has been coming back into the forefront here. And that's really what it is that we are creating. And it's beginning now. So I'm channeling this. We're finally doing this 2024 year ahead reading on January 20th. It is an extremely auspicious day. Pluto is moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. This is what we're going to talk about next. So, Pluto in Aquarius is an energy of the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And that's what they were bringing me. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. You've heard that song from the 60s and 70s. That's what's really happening now. It began to seep into our collective consciousness over the past several decades, wanting a new way of being, wanting a new way of embodiment, wanting a new way of living and loving, wanting a new society, right? Knowing that the old wasn't working. But there were still some power struggles. There was still some of the old paradigm that was being held on to. Now, what's happening is we are really creating that shift in our physical world now, because the collective energy moves first. The collective consciousness, the energy within the consciousness, is created first, and then we begin to see it in our physical world. And actually, over the past several years, especially if you go back to, well, they're bringing me back to 2012, but 2012 creating a huge shift of collective awakening, moving into 2020, where we begin to see new ways of doing things. Now, there was some destruction there. And there was some fear that was there, that was cultivated there, because it was a new way of living, a new way of being. And it came about, that pandemic energy came about, out of fear, but you could also see the unity in it. You could also see what was created. Rather than giving into that fear, so many created a what was best. That's why I will always believe in humanity. You would see people on their balconies singing, or coming together and saying prayers, or communicating in new ways with technology, finding new ways to come together when we were, in essence, in isolation. That time of isolation is coming to a close. So, wherever fear was meant to be ingrained in society, humanity always has a way of overcoming that and coming back to unity. And that's what's happening now. That's the pendulum shift, the ultimate pendulum shift. That's why I will always believe in humanity, and that's our collective ascension. So, Pluto. Pluto is actually a really amazing and fascinating energy. Pluto is anything that is hidden. And you can actually see that Pluto is the outer planets in our solar system, right? And for a long time, Pluto wasn't actually acknowledged as a planet. It got its label of a planet taken away and then reinstated. But so it's the outlier. It's what's hidden. It is transformation, it's personal transformation, but also collective transformation. Because what happens within us, our individual ascension, has a ripple effect on the whole, has a ripple effect on the collective. Pluto can bring about dark nights of the soul, because it is breaking loose or breaking free anything that is no longer serving us. And the dark nights of the soul are the acknowledgement of ourselves, the acknowledgement of, okay, this actually isn't working for us. And that's where we plunge into dark nights of the soul. It's meant to shake us up. It's meant to bring us to new awareness, bring us to new consciousness. Not going back to the same old way. We saw that with the pandemic as well, where there were real changes to the old ways of doing things. So not going back to the old ways or the way that things were. So Pluto moving into Aquarius now is really this dawning of the age of Aquarius, dawning of this new earth. And we're going to be seeing this in physical representation now. We've begun to see it in physical representation. Pluto moves slowly, The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was 225 years ago. And that was the revolutions, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. And that's what Pluto in Aquarius really does. It's a revolution of the self, a revolution of the collective, upending the old ways of doing things because they're just not working. And they're not working for the collective. So, Pluto in Aquarius specifically is about burning down old structures. Aquarian energy is humanitarianism, innovation, freedom, revolution. It's about authenticity. Aquarians really like that sense of authenticity and paving a new path. And authenticity is a key word for 2024. Anything that is not authentic, anything that is not of the heart, of the higher heart is what I'm saying. Anything that is not embodied is going to be paved away, or you will be pushed out of that resistance to be more authentic, to be more you. And again, depending where you are on your individual ascension journey, this can either be a hard push, like a push from the universe, or it can be very supportive of, if you're already embodying, if you're already moved through a lot of your ascension journey and you are in this place of authenticity, it can level up the authenticity. So you feel more confident, you feel more comfortable in that authenticity. So it really depends on where you are. Individually and societally, this is going to be changes also in how we live. And how we live is going to be energetic. How do you live energetically? And again, that's the authenticity. There's also going to be big structural changes, politics, government. And again, we've already begun to see this in the destruction pre-Aquarian energy. We've already begun to see this, and that's because this energy is not just, oh, okay, we're in Aquarius now, so let's get started. This energy kind of ramps up. So we might have already been seeing this over the past couple of years begin to take shape, begin to take form, especially, I want to say 2012 to 2020, like these years, we've really begun to see that the old ways of doing things just isn't serving the higher consciousness, the new earth energy that we are collectively moving into. And again, it's because on a soul level, we know that this is not authentic to the way that we are meant to be living. Authenticity again. That the structures that were implemented might have served the few, but doesn't serve the whole. And that is also a key component I'm hearing to Pluto in Aquarius. It's moving out of the individual or the few or the select few into the whole, into unity consciousness. Pluto in Aquarius is all about community. It's all about the unity consciousness, the collective consciousness. And so those were the two key words that I've been channeling for the past couple of months, is authenticity and community being key components for 2024 as a whole. And that's going to lay the foundation for the years to come. So 2024 to 2023, Pluto is going to be in Aquarius now. There's going to be a slight retrograde back into Capricorn in September and November of this year, 2024. But that is an adjustment period. Retrogrades are just kind of like a reflection and review to say, okay, is this actually serving us? Are we actually on the right path? I was also getting this energy as I was writing some notes down about this. As I was channeling about this, I got this energy of a reminder that Capricorn energy is the sea goat. And the sea goat is kind of like the bridge, right? The sea goat knows how to climb the mountain, can stand on the mountain, can stand on earth, on the ground. It's very grounded energy, but also feels comfortable in the depths, in the waters, with that fish energy. I'm actually getting like Piscean energy, very comfortable in the depths as well. So the Capricorn energy is that bridge, and that's where we've been. Pluto has been in Capricorn. It's been that bridge, that shift. And again, it's fascinating to me because you can really look back through certain ages and certain time periods in our collective history. And this had come through in a channeling where when we have not just certain astrological transits, but certain shifts in consciousness is created because the collective is creating a shift in consciousness. So when we had the Dark Ages, for example, it was because there was a collective energy of fear. And that's where a lot of persecution and prosecution happened. They're actually bringing me even back to the burning of the Library of Alexandria, where it was that Library of Alexandria collectively had so much knowledge, so much esoteric knowledge is also what I'm hearing. There was so much to be learned. And with that, so much of that knowledge was lost. And when we're saying knowledge, we're not just talking about intellectual knowledge, although, yes, but we're also talking about spiritual knowledge, that awareness of self. And that's where there's been this crumbling. So collectively, there was an energy of fear, and that created the Dark Ages, persecution, the Inquisition, etc., suppression of self, suppression of gifts, suppression of spiritual knowledge, suppression of the individual, too. And so the Age of Enlightenment, for another example, or the Renaissance area, was this rebirth of arts, rebirth of humanity, rebirth of coming together in community and support. You had people who were patrons of the arts, for example, really nurturing the artistic endeavors. And that's because in the collective consciousness, we had shifted to give birth to that. Well, this is another shift in consciousness that has been created, especially with Pluto and Capricorn. We saw this rising. We saw this bridge that was being built from the old to the new. And now the new is here. Pluto in Aquarius is the new. So this, again, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, this is the physical manifestation of that shift in collective consciousness. And again, you can apply that to your individual life, but this is also what's happening on a global stage. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating how everything is interconnected and how everything has this ripple effect. So, moving from the individual to community doesn't mean that you're not an individual still. You're still going to express yourself individually. But there's more of a authentic, unifying energy about this, more of a community energy about this, recognizing the need for support with each other. Rather than, when I say the individual, I'm not talking about your individual expression of self, your unique expression of yourself, and that's to be honored. That's your authentic self. There's going to be more of an acceptance of that moving forward because we're moving into that community energy. That community energy is supporting one another. And so supporting the individual, for example, where you might have been hyper independent and isolated, and I've got this, I can take care of this on my own. That's the energy that we're moving out of. Recognizing the need for community, recognizing the value of community, and honoring that as we honor each other individually. So where there have been divisive elements, where there had been disconnect, there had been me against you or us versus them, is coming now into wholeness. It's unifying. And that's the sacred union path of ascension. We experience that within ourselves, and we experience that within the whole. Authenticity, community, new ways of doing things, new innovations, new structures, releasing the power struggle, releasing the ego, and connecting back to the soul. That is what we're going to be seeing, not just this year, but this year's laying the foundation for the new earth energy that is to come. And like we've channeled before, don't forget that you are the new earth energy. So as you embody these energies of authenticity and compassion and kindness and love, most importantly, that foundation of love through which everything extends, through which compassion and kindness and patience and harmony all evolve. The energy of love, the more you embody that, the more that has a ripple effect. And this is really where it begins. So 2024 feels like a real foundational year. It feels like an exciting year if we allow ourselves to not resist the old or the changing of the old. I'm hearing the changing of the guard. If we allow ourselves to move into the new, if we allow ourselves to go with the flow, and that's the feminine energy, right? To stand up and have the strength of the masculine energy, the fierce warrior energy of the masculine energy, the fighter energy. And when I say fighter, I mean standing up, speaking up, standing true to yourself and your values and your integrity, with the feminine energy of compassion and kindness and open-heartedness and expression of self. The more we bridge those two, the more it's going to have a ripple effect to move us more and more and more into this collective consciousness of union, unity, and oneness, this new earth energy. And the less we resist, the easier the path is going to become. All right, so let's get into our 2024 year ahead reading. Stay tuned.